Hello everybody, this is Dark Ninja, and today we're going to cover a bunch of useful shot angles that are not easily noticed, such as tiny gaps in buildings, as well as some angles that are not that hard to see, yet for some reason I rarely see players using them as often as they should be. I can basically guarantee you that there's going to be some angles in this video that you've never seen before, so stay tuned if you're interested in that. So the first angles we're going to be covering are on Fjords. I use these angles all the time, especially in my light tanks on this map. So basically, it's in this area here, and you get the shots down onto the south heavy corner. I've knocked over all the trees in this area to make it more obvious where the angles actually are. But basically, if you come around here, you get shots on the back of this rock, which is a very common hold-down position. And you can also shoot right through here. This, as you'll see, this corner right here next to the rock, which is also a very common position for heavies over there. And those are basically the only angles you get from back there, but if you move up even closer, if you're able to clear the tank destroyers in this area here, then you can get even better angles on the back of their heavies. I know that a lot of people know about this area, where if you move up into the tank destroyer spot, you can shoot the back of the heavies, but you can actually get shots way further back. It's just there's trees covering it, so a lot of people never notice it. Here you can see shots all over in the heavy area, as well as on the left side here, where a lot of people play. Our next angle here, if you're ever facing an artillery piece, playing in that cubby right there, it's like an endgame situation, and there's some artillery just camping inside this area, and you can't really approach him from any angle, or just a tank hiding there. Since it kind of covers the cap, it's pretty hard to push out, but there's actually a useful gap right here. You come to this window here. You can actually just shoot it right in the back and kill whatever's there for free. So this next angle is over here in the east, next to this hull down. Now obviously if they have middle, then you can't make this play, but if they don't have middle, you can just come here and shoot straight through this window on whoever's camping behind those buildings there. Our next angle is on highway. This is the one that I just recently learned about from one of my Twitch subscribers. And this one's pretty useful because, as you can see, you come into here, and this corner right behind here is a very, very common position that people play. And from this gap here in the building, you can actually just shoot them for free. Now, you have to be very careful taking this aggressively into the city because they can just push you back in return. So just keep that in mind. But yes, there's a gap right through this building that you can shoot them from. And it actually works from the other side as well, although it's much harder to shoot through it because you're much further away from the building, so your shot is more likely to just hit the building. The next thing I wanted to show are these destructible houses right here. So if you shoot down the first wall, there's a ton of gaps just all through these houses, and this obviously works from both sides. If you're playing from the other spawn, you can shoot through them as well, unless you miss like I just did there. But yeah, here you can see through this door, for example, you can shoot right through it. And I use that one quite often when we're pushing the city and enemies are trying to escape. You can just get a shot through there. The next angle is a little bit trickier. So here we are in the city, this time from the other spawn. If someone is ever camping on the outside of this building here, which is fairly common, I guess. Not super common, but it does happen. And they're just trying to proxy spot people for the tank destroyers behind them. Instead of pushing around and trying to kill them, which will basically just get you killed by their tank destroyers who play back here, you can look for a cheeky angle through here. Now this one is quite a bit harder to line up. But it does exist. You can shoot straight through there. Now, one thing that I should mention, I guess I'll show you this one first. This is from the other side. From the other side, you can shoot through it as well, but there's like these textures that are in the way, which make it way harder. Now, the way that I'm actually able to tell whether I'm able to shoot through it or not is I can see my reticle jump up and down just very slightly, and that will tell me that whether I'm aimed at the wall right in front of me or whether my reticle is focusing on something behind it. I actually miss a shot or two, but as you can see, if you go in third person, You can actually line it up a lot easier because you zoom way out and then you move your reticle very slowly left and to the right and find the angle through the gap. Now, one trick, so let me back up here. Let's just say you're trying to shoot through this gap here. A lot of the time you'll try to pull forward and line it up, and then you move too far to this side and you're aiming at this side of the building. And then you'll try to back up again, and then you're on this side of the building and you haven't lined it up, and you just try to like press W or S, the S key. You're just trying to tap it to try to get it into position, but sometimes you just keep going back and forth and can't get it lined up. So one trick in order to actually find these lineups is instead of trying to press W or S and just going straight forward or back, which will make you overshot where you're trying to actually get to, is you can actually just turn your tank in place, so just rotate it, or turn it at more of an angle like this. And that means when you press W, you're not moving as far horizontally, or if you just turn, then it's a lot more controlled and it's a lot easier to get through these shots. So let's skip. Showed you this one. So the next angle, this one is extremely useful on Himmelsdorf. So the next angle I want to show you is on Himmelsdorf in the G5 window, a very standard position that I use all the time. So there's actually a tiny little gap in this window here, and you can actually shoot people in that window through it, and it's pretty helpful whenever you find yourself in a 1v1. Just between this gap here where the T49 is, or the Sheridan, they expect you to peek up here, so they're aimed there, and then you just pull into this gap and shoot them in return, and it actually works from both sides, and the shot is actually quite a large shot, as you can see. So you'll catch a lot of people off guard for that. The next position I want to show you is this one right here. A lot of people know about this one, but I figured I'd show it anyways. So basically, right here on this corner, you go through the courtyard and you're trying to pressure the 8 line. Basically, there's a destructible wooden pallet right here, and you shoot that down as you're approaching, and then once you get here, instead of peeking the corner like this, you can just poke up over the top and be completely hauled down, and they don't expect this angle at all. It helps if you have a decent amount of gun depression. Next angle, it's another Himmelsdorf angle. It's through this little gap here. This works from both sides, as you can see. And these window fights on Himmelsdorf, basically every single one of these little cubbies inside Himmelsdorf has gaps in them. So, like from the south side over here. So whenever you're fighting in one of those gaps, just be watching for these little holes in the wall. Next one, Himmels North in A5. So a lot of the time you're making a last stand here at the end of the game. And here's an angle you can see people approaching from B5 up the 5 line. This next one I want to show you is not super helpful for random battles whatsoever. So this is over on the Banana Road. There's like an actual gap through this building. Now this is very rarely useful in random battles, but it is useful in competitive formats, like 7 vs 7 attack defense, where you spawn over here in the lower right corner. You just come up to this 8 line gap here, and you can spot anybody going down the 1-2 line. But who knows, maybe you'll find it useful in a random battle sometime. Alright, and here's another angle. We're up on the hill this time. So I wanted to quickly show you, if you're ever winning the hill from the south, and you want to shoot down this alley right here, if you have good enough camo, what you can do, especially if they're at the end of this alley here, is spot them, and then you can actually double bush behind this tree. Now I also wanted to show you some of the angles off of the hill. These are pretty obvious angles. Like, it's obvious you can come to this gap and shoot down here. But what a lot of people don't realize is you can, if you properly angle your tank on this wall here, you can put the back of your tank on this wall, and you can get a ton of gun depression on here, and you can almost shoot the bottom of 8 line If you have really good gun depression, like an S-conk, you can actually just shoot the people who are playing on this corner right here. And then from up here on the hill, there's a couple other angles that are kind of obvious, but I figured I'd show them anyways. So you can shoot there, you can shoot there, and you can shoot there. And those crossings are useful because when people are running off the hill, trying to escape after you've won the hill, that's where you're going to find your shots. Next angle I wanted to show you is on cliff on the hill. So obviously, people play this position very commonly, heavy tanks usually, just around here. But you can't really, if you don't have really good gun depression, you can't really just shoot them hull down or for free. So I'm at a T100 here, have terrible gun depression. And what you do instead to get shots on that is just to boost yourself up on this rock. Now it's pretty tricky to get the angle right so that your front is depressed downwards. But that's how you do it right there, and you can get free shots all day. The only thing you have to watch out for is A5, because as you can see, A5 does have a small angle on you. So just make sure you get unspotted between your peaks, and that they're not just hard pre-aiming you with an accurate tank. Other angle is a pretty obvious angle, but I wanted to show you anyways. You can kind of boost up on the side of this cliff here, and if you do it correctly, which I don't really do in this clip, you can get shots on the upper ramp here, which is super helpful. So now we're on Erlenberg. There's a ton of useful angles on Erlenberg, lots of gaps in buildings. The first one I'm going to show you is super unknown. I don't know anybody who knows about this angle, but yes, it does exist. You can shoot through this gap here. And here's a more obvious angle, which most people probably know about, but if you don't know about it, it's super helpful. If you're tall enough to play this gap here, the EBR isn't, you can just farm anything that's playing down this line here, as you can see. I use that one all the time. Now, from this area here, we have a few angles. Here's one. You ever commit into here, and it works from both sides. Slightly differently, but you can use it to abuse that corner. And then there's a gap through there. Probably not super useful, but it's good to know about. And there, but you have to, the enemy has to be told to shoot through that. Now here's some gaps here, which are kind of obvious through these windows, but for some reason I still people getting messed up by them all the time. They're actually probably more useful even from the other side, playing this corner here. You just have someone playing where I am right now, and you can just shoot them through this back window here, and you'll catch them off guard. Next one I wanted to show you is here. There's like a door there, but it's actually, you can just shoot straight through it. And if you're not sure you can shoot through it or not, just go into third person and see if your reticle is going through it. Now I wanted to show some useful angles from out here. These ones are kind of obvious as well. There's a gap onto this corner right here. This corner is played pretty often, so it's a good gap to know about. And it's better than just peeking more in the open and getting shot in return. Now we're going to talk about some angles that you can get from the 2 line up here where the T100 is. So a lot of people know that there's angles through here, but they don't actually know where exactly to go to line them up. So here I'm showing it from the city's perspective. And here from the T100's perspective. So as you can see here, there's just a gap right through here. And just pay attention to where I actually am up here. Just right to the right of this. And here's another gap in pretty close area. You just need to move a little bit more south. And here's this other corner, which I showed earlier. Pretty commonly played. And you can get an angle onto that. As you can see, it's a pretty easy angle. So that's all I've got today for this video on all the different angles that I could find and know about. But stay tuned, there will be a part 2 to this video, including plenty of more good angles that you can use. I spent around 8 hours in training rooms and compiling and editing the clips, so if you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please consider sharing the video with your friends and clanmates. And please leave a like as well if you enjoyed the video, as it would really help me out. Also, please consider subscribing if you'd be interested in seeing that next upcoming part 2 video. I'm also thinking about doing a common blind shot angle video as well for free damage, which I'm planning to do in the future. So stay tuned for that, and that's all I've got for today. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.